Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And welcome to the Cornwall Property Podcast, where every week we bring you the latest news, hot topics and guidance around the Cornwall property market.
Stay tuned to be informed, inspired and to have any of your property related questions answered by trusted local property professionals.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Cornwall Property Podcast.
Here we are once again. It's good to be here.
Exactly that. So, those of you unfamiliar, we are Dan and James, and we are here to inform, educate, inspire you guys about property, and with a particular emphasis on the Cornwall property market. There is a big housing crisis here in Cornwall at the minute, where there's not enough property, but too many people needing homes. So we just want to help, hopefully encourage you guys to help get involved, and how we can all be a part of bridging this gap and getting properties to the market for the local people.
Absolutely, and it's the fun part of the show where you guys, our listeners and viewers, get to ask us some questions. Just remember, you can do this by going to cornwallpropertypodcast.com, scrolling all the way down and send us your message that way. You can also reach out to us on social media as well, on Facebook, where many of you do. And thank you always for your wonderful questions that keep coming in. So, without further ado, we shall start with our first question, which is from Lisa in St Austell. And her question was, well, there's a few bits in this, isn't it? She's got a lot of bang for her buck in this one, which we're happy to answer. I would love to hear your thoughts on whether I should manage my new buy-to-let property myself, or whether I should be working with a lettings agent. I have already one property in Redruth that's fully managed by a lettings agent, so I'm wanting to know if I should stick with that for my second investment property, or just give it a go myself. Whilst my second property is in St Austell and I live locally, I'm not sure if I should self-manage this or hand to a local agent to manage. Yeah, some good stuff in there.
Yeah. First of all, well done, Lisa. Obviously doing really, really well. Great. So you've got yourself two properties, and one's in Redruth, one's in St Austell. You live in St Austell, and you've got your Redruth property managed by an agent, and you're thinking about whether or not to manage your own St Austell property. I think there's a few areas there you can really consider, and it's difficult because I think the most irritating response you could have is it depends. And It depends. It depends on your circumstances. I think everyone's going to be different. And personally, I like the idea of being able to pass the management side of it to a professional expert who does this day in, day out. But why is it? Because it is going to be time consuming. It is going to be taxing on headspace, for example. Like, you're going to have to make sure you're on the ball with regulations, staying up to date with things. You might get calls all sort of hours, hopefully not, but again, these are all things that can happen, and property's a wonderful thing. You can get a phone call at silly o'clock at night with a bad leak, or these are the types of things that you would need to just think about. It's not all going to be plain sailing, but in my way, the way I work and the way I think is always, what is the worst case? What is the worst case that could perhaps possibly happen? Am I prepared to take late calls? If I've got maintenance issues, am I able to get that sorted? Have I got a team of my own? These are all things, if you went to a letting agent, that'll be covered for you already. They'll have their own lettings team. They'll have all that. But perhaps it's a new property. Excuse me. Perhaps it's quite a fresh, or not too old, maybe a new build, that you're not expecting many maintenance problems. Then you're thinking, well, what really is a letting agent going to have to do? Because what maintenance issues are there? But these are all things I think that only you can answer. It depends on the property, depends on how much time you've got. Money as well. Is money an issue? If money is an issue and you're trying to keep the monthly payments down and the costs down, and you want to try and increase that cash flow, then obviously by not having a letting agent, you're going to be saving yourself between 8 to 12% potentially, depending on what the agents are. But I think it really, really depends. Have you got the time? How badly do you need this money? Because it's all well and good saving yourself a few $100 maybe a month, but the amount of time it might take you, some months might be absolutely fine. You don't hear a peep. But some months you might do. So anything you think about there, James, that I maybe missed?
Well, I think you've and well done as well, Lisa, for getting those two properties. That's an amazing thing on your property journey, and long may it continue. But it's Dan's covered most of the points that I would have done. Some of the good things I'd say about you managing it, and again, it depends on your lifestyle. But if you're managing it, it gives you the opportunity to get into your property and see how it's faring up, how it's being looked after. So if it's with a managing agent, you don't really get the opportunity as a landlord to get in there and see it's all managed through the managing agent. So any visits that happen, it's with their eyes, not yours, and you can only go on what the managing agent is telling you. But it really just boils down to why you're doing this and your lifestyle. If it really is to increase that passive income or that cash flow for Lisa, then maybe because it is a new property, why don't you just try it for 6 months and see? Then at the end of that 6 months, think, well, actually, I've just saved myself £200 a month. I've not had one call. And why would I want the managing agent and then do it for another 6 months? There's nothing tying you down to do that. If you tie it into a managing agent now, then you're stuck for sort of 12 months, where you've tied into the contract. So personally, if it was me, I say see how it goes for even 3 months. If you're finding it's becoming too much for your lifestyle, then hey ho, call that managing agent and get it managed out. But then you get best of both worlds, I would say.
Yeah, give it a go. But I think the key is obviously making sure you're compliant. You know what the boxes you need to be ticked to stay compliant, and just keep on the ball. Which again, that's the only other thing that I'd recommend is with an agent there. Obviously, this is their job, this is their day, and there'll be someone working with that agent who is on compliance. But you can find this information out if you dig deeper, or keep listening to us, and we'll help where we possibly can. Fire us your questions. But in short, Lisa, it all depends. Definitely worth considering, I think, but also have the agent there as a backup should you need it. But definitely so. Brilliant. James, one for you. Adam from Penzance. So Adam is in a great situation here. He's been very, very fortunate. But so Adam's been in touch and he said, I've always been interested in property and would love to invest myself. My mum and dad have kindly gifted me some money to buy an investment property, but I fear my Cornish wage is too low, of just £24,000 per year for the mortgage actually to stack up payments wise. Is it still going to be possible for me to get involved? James, go for it.
Well, thank you for that question, Adam. I think it's a really good one, and I think it's something that's becoming more and more common in society at the moment, that sort of parents are sort of thinking, well, we've got this bulk of money that we're going to give to our son or daughter, and, after we pass on to the afterlife, as such, it's inevitable it will happen at some stage. They are going to be, having to pay inheritance tax on that. There's no two ways about it. That's what the country has decided, and that's what needs to be paid. But this is no tax loophole. We're not financial advisors or tax advisors, but if you do have a gift of money from mum and dad early on from their savings, and you have that for 7 years, you don't have to pay that inheritance tax. It's on a gift, but it has to be there for 7 years. So I think mum and dad are being quite smart. So well done to them as well. So one thing, I've got some good news for you here, Adam. Most people think that, a lot of the stress tests that the lenders do are all done on your wage. Now, if you're buying a property for personal, then yes, that is the case. They simply take your wage, or you and your partner's wage, and they times it generally by 4.5 times or 5 times. But when it's an investment property, which this one is, it's actually done on the property itself. So they will look at how much you're buying the property for, hopefully a good deal, as we've talked in previous podcast episodes about getting that below market value deal, and if you can add some value, that's great. But then they will look at the rental income and they'll just stress test it against that. Of course, you are you are the person that's buying it, so they will have a look at your income, but it's not as a major detriment as what people think. So don't worry too much about the £24,000 income that you've got, because the figures are actually done on the property's performance and its rental figures and what you're paying for it. So I think keep yourself really closely watched on Rightmove, Zoopla, places like that. Have a look and see, and start crunching some numbers. There are good deal stackers that you can get online. Again, send some questions in to myself and I'll be able to send them over to you. But just try and find that right deal that works for you. But yeah, I don't think you need to worry about your income at the moment because it will be done on the property. So plough ahead and get that first property, my man.
Definitely, that sounds great. And again, other due diligence I'd recommend is speak to local agents. If you're unsure what sort of property you want to go for, what sort of rents are going for, speak to them. They are always changing, as we've just spoke about in the last couple of episodes we've recorded over the last few weeks. So again, get your due diligence in, do your research. It's a lot of money still to part with, so you want to make sure you're doing it right. So, but well done, you're in the right place. You're listening in to hear, you're asking your questions, and you can't do much more than that at the moment. So fantastic. Thank you for getting in touch, Adam. But that brings us to a close on today's podcast. So thank you so much for your questions. Again, if you want to get in touch with us, James, they can do that by...
Yep, they can send us an email if they want to on hello@cornwallpropertypodcast.com. They can go to our website, cornwallpropertypodcast.com, and scroll to the very bottom there. They can send the message in that way. And then, as many of us do, you can go on our socials to look at all of our interesting things we've got on there and just simply send us a message. But we're always here to help in any way we can, and we love property. So keep them coming, guys.
Definitely. And please, if you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, give us a little thumbs up on the old like, and it all goes a long way, and it's really appreciated our end. So that's another one in the bag. So thank you very much for joining us and listening once more. That is a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.